always love the sport of bobsleigh on this show. And we've had the honour of speaking to numerous bobsledders across the years, particularly from the great nation of Australia. But when it comes to bobsledders from Australia, we've only spoke to female athletes. We're a bit sexist on this show, apparently. We just ignore one of the genders until today, because I'm so excited to learn about our next guest's journey into the sport and this journey that he is going to use to take him all the way to an Olympic debut in Milano-Cortina next year. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Cameron Scott. Cam, welcome to Off the Podium.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Appreciate your time.
I just want to apologise to all men out there that I have been incredibly sexist against them and only ever had female bobsledders on the show. Disgusting.
I mean, mate, we're Australian bobsledders. The women are pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you.
No, it's I apparently just am following one level, but we need to balance that out. And I'm actually really intrigued to learn about not only your journey, but where we're at with male bobsledding in the country, because all jokes aside, obviously the women have been kicking butt in the last few years, and I feel that we don't really hear about the men when it comes to bobsled in Australia. So we'll get to that. But let's start off with the obvious question, Ken. The question I'm sure that you get every single day when you say, I'm going to the Olympics in bobsledding. How do you get involved in bobsledding? Because this isn't something that Australians often just go to school with on a Friday and go, shit, I'm going to do some bobsledding today.
You're absolutely right, mate. And to be fair, it's always two ways. People either look at you like you got two or three heads, or people are just so overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I want to know absolutely more. So
I'm Tasmanian. We're used to that. Two heads, right? You know, like you. Welcome to the club.
6 fingers, six toes, all the rest.
Exactly. Yep. That's how it works.
No, so I was fortunate enough when I was rehabbing a back injury after my rugby league career. I was training at the same gym as Hayden Smith, who was a brakeman for Lucas Marta at the 2018 Winter Olympics in bobsled. He was a couple of years above me at school. I went to school with his sister, so knew him really well. And then when he came back, he was just incredibly persistent in telling me that I should give it a go and that he thought I'd be really good. And, 2 or 3 years went by, and then all of a sudden I was booking a ticket over to Calgary, and then flew up to Whistler. And did my first ever pilot bobsled school. It was a 4-week camp that I just, first couple of runs, same as anything, you've got to be crazy enough to jump in there and give it a whirl. But after that, it was like an obsession.
Wow. It was. I mean, what's it like though when you initially have somebody saying like, you could be good at bobsled? I mean, outside of the obvious, you'd seen cool runnings, you'd watched it at the Olympics. Like, I mean, had you even remotely thought about the sport of bobsled in any capacity?
Oh, absolutely not. And it wasn't until Hayden, I knew him on his approach to the games as well. So I was watching him train, and I watched him, PB in all of his lifts prior to going and testing and going overseas and competing. And it was just I just slowly, unintentionally just had it surround me. And then, he went off and then came back and he was saying it. And I was like, oh, you think so? Why? What makes a good bobsledder? He's like, oh, you're tough. You've got the background in footy. You're powerful, you're strong, you're fast. You've got everything that's there. It's just whether or not you like it.
And are you, I guess, an adrenaline junkie? Are you the guy who's at, movie world and you're jumping on the roller coasters and things like that? Or was this kind of something you had to overcome in order to get down a track in a bobsled?
I love that you use that example, because I used to hate roller coasters. And then I started doing bobsled, and then me and my girlfriend went to movie world, and it was this new obsession of going backwards on the roller coaster or being on the front seat and paying the extra money to be at the front. Yeah, literally.
Wow.
But yeah, I absolutely wasn't was pretty basic kind of growing up and playing sport, playing rugby league, playing cricket, stuff like that. And never really was that crazy front runner kind of guy. I let a lot of my mates do that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I just went off on a little bit of a whim, and on the basis that Hayden thought I'd be good. And yeah, I absolutely fell in love with it.
Just backtracking to the rugby side of things, was this something that when you started as a boy, this was the dream then to grow up and be an NRL player? We're talking a bit off air that you're a Dragons man, so I'm guessing putting on the red V and lining up there and playing for the Dragons in the NRL?
Yeah, look, it absolutely was. And, I signed my first contract with Cronulla when I was 13, and we went through all of their junior league right up until under 20s, and rugby league was my life. I was completely encapsulated by it. It was drilled into me from Dad that I needed something else other than rugby league, because rugby league isn't always there for you in life. It comes a time when you've got to stop playing football and, dig into a full-time job and stuff like that. So I went to university and I studied nursing, and That was even interesting for me to be doing that and playing rugby league too. And it kind of just got to a point in time where some injuries were starting to creep in, and then obviously like I was doing placements for uni, and then started full-time, shift work being a nurse. And it was just like, well, I can't maintain both. It's kind of one or the other. And unfortunately, like a significant injury, I had a significant disc bulge in my back that I had like a lot of symptoms. Ended up rehabbing that for about 3.5 years. But funnily enough, that wasn't the injury that stopped me playing rugby league. It was I actually blew out my right eye socket.
Oh, wow.
So I ended up having a titanium plate put in underneath my right eye. Funnily enough, like
Ouch.
I didn't look this good before that surgery. So
there's a secret.
There it is. Just blow your eye socket out. But yeah, so that was actually the injury that kind of stopped me, and I was like, right, I think it's time to stop playing footy.
Wow. How do you blow your eye? I mean, you're obviously getting hit a lot in rugby, but like, I mean, did you just get a bloody big hit? Like, how do you blow your eye out?
Oh, then it was exactly that. It was one of those games. Like we were on the front foot. We were just kind of hammering this team, and there was this one really good player, and he was their edge back rower. And I don't know. It was a quick play the ball. I think I got a quick penalty, so I took the tap, and I just sprinted, and I looked up, and I saw him, and I just decided I'm going to run at the biggest guy on the field. And this guy's just sat back and loaded up, and he's just shot himself straight at me. And his shoulder actually just like cupped my eye and literally just smashed me straight in the eye. And so I got up and played the ball, and then I just like fell over it. I was dizzy. I was vomiting everywhere, and everyone's like, there's something else going on here.
Yeah.
Carted off straight to the hospital, and then within 5 minutes of getting the results of my CT scan, I was carted off to St George Hospital and was under the knife having surgery because they thought I was going to lose my eye.
Jeez. Wow.
Yeah, so it was a wicked way to kind of finish things up, but that was my last game of rugby league.
Wow. And how many years ago was that?
Oh, he's testing me now. Probably about 5. I think I was 23 or 22, around there.
Right. But does that then, the competitive drive that you've spent a majority of your life pushing towards one goal, but that obviously still burns inside, so that when Hayden sort of lights a bit of a spark and you kind of explore this a little bit more, that you go, oh, hang on, maybe my rugby career's over, but that competitive drive can be fueled into a different sport.
Yeah, and that was exactly it. I was ended up rehabbing this back injury at that point in time straight after my eye. I was like relearning movement patterns again. I was, went from back squatting 150 plus kilos and power cleaning and do all this wonderful stuff. And then it was like, okay, you actually just need to learn how to breathe and brace and do a bodyweight squat. And so it was just like this light that was kind of put in front of me, like a little, like, they always say like in fitness and stuff, they're going to dangle the carrot in front of you. Like, you do a really good rep, we're going to finish a little bit early kind of thing. It was this carrot that was dangled in front of me. It was just like, holy crap, like this could actually be something. And so over that kind of 3 years where I was rehabbing this back injury, it was just this carrot that got closer and closer and closer. And then I was well enough to go and give it a go. And that was it.
And here you are getting
and here I am.
closer. Had you grown up watching the Olympics? I mean, again, off air, we sort of were talking a little bit about your age, my age, and you were 3 when Sydney 2000 was on growing up in Sydney. So obviously you're way too young probably to remember it, but was it something that the family watched every 4 years, either summer or the Winter Olympics? Yeah,
look, yes, I don't particularly remember like growing up and being engulfed by the Olympics, but particularly when they were on, like, the telly was kind of always on in the background and was always playing. Mum was selected quite early on she's a road cyclist, and was, doing time trials and stuff like that. And she had the opportunity to go to an Olympic Games, and they actually withdrew her team for whatever reason that it was.
Wow.
And then so she ended up giving that up. So there's always been like that professional sporting vision always at home kind of thing. Mum loves the Tour de France, and that's always on. And so then particularly when the Olympics are on, the cycling is always on. So always watching it, that's for sure.
Is that then kind of almost an added incentive to try and get to the Olympics, to kind of get there and, get that spot that your mum should have had, essentially?
Oh, I think, yeah, maybe looking at it now, like definitely. Like mum and dad are super supportive of it, and, they're sacrificing just as much as I am, as well as my partner. And, it would be fantastic to kind of fulfill that dream, I guess, as well, that kind of got taken away from mum. So
there's your Channel 9 angle. I'm just saying right now. Like, I mean, they're going to be milking that shit up come Milano-Cortina. Now they've heard it on these podcasts. You're welcome, Channel 9.
Mum won't get caught dead in front of a camera, mate. So she's the biggest cheerer, but well and truly off the camera.
Not going quite in front of it there. So outside of the going to bobsled school that you mentioned going into Canada, is there any other preparation that sort of Hayden gives you? Or like, I mean, is there anything going to the gym that you've got to maybe warm yourself up to before you ultimately jump in a sled for the first time?
Look, there's like some kind of like baseline testing numbers that kind of give you a little bit of an insight as to whether or not you'd kind of be of any caliber when you get behind a sled. Funnily enough, when Hayden was talking to me and trying to get my excitement up and get me involved, he was telling me that I'd be a really good brakeman, so the pusher. And signing up to that camp, I actually signed up thinking that I was going over to learn how to push a bobsled. And very rudely, 2 weeks before the camp, I got told that it was a pilot camp and I was learning how to drive a bobsled, not push one.
Wow.
So that was a super realization to me, being like, oh, shit, I'm not going over there to just push. We're learning to drive this.
Wow. Because it's actually interesting you talk about that. We had David Baresh on recently, and sort of he's coming from a rugby background in Czechia and sort of talking about that. And then he sort of explained around in the four-man that the brakeman obviously is almost got to be the most powerful sprinter because they've got to run the longest. And that was something that is obvious now that I hear it, but I actually didn't think about that. So I guess does that make your job easier as a pilot? Obviously not easier because you've got to drive the damn thing. You're not just the lazy guy in the middle with his head in someone's bum. But like you've got to run the shortest. So, I mean, I don't know. Does that then from the sprinting side of things make it a little bit easier for you?
Yeah, definitely. There's kind of like, I guess, a little less pressure on me to kind of be adding that to the sled. But something that I particularly learned in the last couple of months, I've been training with Ash Werner and we've been under the guidance of Duncan Harvey, who's an ex-Australian bobsledder as well, went to the Olympic Games. As a pilot, you've got to be a pusher than a driver. You've got some phenomenal push athletes out there that are also incredible pilots, and they're winning medals because they're push athletes first, drivers second. So it's definitely something that I'm starting to embody now, whereby, sure, I'm running the shortest distance, but I can add just as much to the push as my team can. And that was definitely something that we, being a developing team, particularly last year, it was definitely something that we lacked, was kind of that like absolute balls to the wall mentality of pushing a sled. It's such a difficult sport. All these guys have been training together for years and years and years, and learning how to load together and doing all this stuff. And then it's just, like the Australian team turns up and, hey, just jump in and give it a go and see how you go. And last year was the first year we drove four-man. So that was a big enough challenge as it was. And then trying to add the layers in of, learning how to push the four-man and load in the four-man. And people don't think there's too much of a challenge for the pilot, but even in four-man, like depending on how your two-man loads and how he sits, like you could have knees like right up under your armpits and you're kind of like driving like a little like T-Rex kind of thing over here, or he's like so far back, you're like, holy shit, is he in the sled? Like, where is this guy? So, there's so many extra layers that come into it as well, like just from going from a two-man into a four-man sled.
Because I actually hadn't realised that Australia hasn't had a four-man sled in the Olympics since Pyeongchang. We didn't have one in Beijing. We didn't have any male athletes in Beijing, did we? So it's sort of
unfortunately. Yeah. Unfortunately, that team just missed out. I think they would have missed out by one or two quota spots, I think. So, a couple of those guys are backing up, and we've got currently two teams for Australia trying to qualify for the next games in Milan.
Is that two mans or two four-mans?
No, I said this year is actually the first year that you have to race in both disciplines.
Right.
Yeah, so you qualify and you combine two-man and four-man points from the season.
Yep.
They're just kind of increasing that depth of the sport, getting more people, some of those smaller countries like us, like actually heavily involved in the entirety of the sport and not just turning up for one event. So
essentially you're saying, so you've got two-man teams that have to qualify, and then if they qualify and have enough points, then you can combine to be a four-man? Is that essentially how it works?
No, so there's two pilots, two separate teams,
Right.
both competing 2-man, both competing 4-man. So
Right.
we've technically got 10 athletes, 10
Okay.
male athletes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. Which I think for the longevity is that a good, I mean, obviously probably not good for you right now when you're being very competitive and trying to get to an Olympics there, Cam. But I mean, we want more athletes, don't we? We want a deep level of athletes competing so that the future of this sport in our country, particularly on the men's side of things, is going to be healthy moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things like everybody talks about, like when you're in the sport and in the moment, you're fully engulfed in what that is. But there is always that kind of lingering thought over my head as to like, okay, well, like, what is that going to look like? What is this going to look like in the next couple of years? How can we kind of create a bit of a legacy for somebody to come through and build on potentially if, me or the other pilot don't continue on after the next games? I mean, who knows? We still need to qualify for this one, let alone thinking about what we'll do in the next 4 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it is definitely building the sport and building that awareness for the sport in a country that thinks we don't actually do it.
It's that the thing that always blows my mind when it comes to these sports, and the one that I always go back to is Jackie Narracott, because when we had her on the podcast and, we were lauding her for an amazing silver medal that she got and how great and groundbreaking. To me, I still stand by the fact that I think that is the hardest Olympic medal, summer or winter, that Australia has ever won in the history of the Olympics. And I sort of asked her, like, well, I'm sure you've got lots of young girls and young boys right now. Yeah, let's get into skeleton. This is amazing. And she's like, well, no, if anything, it's almost gotten worse. Like, no one's doing it now, which just blew my mind that she had this exposure. So it's sort of that thing where it's like, you're working so hard to achieve your goals and do this and do that, but it's also maintaining a sport that, alluding back to what I said at the very beginning, you just don't rock up to school and do bobsleigh, do you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is unfortunately that kind of sad reality for this sport and sliding sports in Australia. We do have such a phenomenal athlete that comes from Australia. We are always super resilient. We have that Aussie culture of just turn up and absolutely give it a red hot crack no matter how you're feeling on the day. But there's just, it's kind of that lack of funding conversation that comes in, and because they are such a small niche sport and there's nowhere for us to do it, and so it's all about that development process. When people find out that it's entirely self-funded, it's just like, oh, no way. So like I've had conversations like within the last kind of 12 24 months with some of Australia's top sprinters, and they're super keen and they're phenomenal athletes and they'd be great behind a sled, particular ones. And then you have those conversations once that interest is sparked, and then they find out they need to pay upwards of $30,000 for 6 months away, and you might get $1,000, $2,000 back depending on grants and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, it's just all those challenges. I mean, I keep trying to put it out there. Brisbane 2032 is a Winter Olympics for Australia, so we should be able to build a track here. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Could work that way. And then also the conversation comes up once Gout's got a couple of gold medals. Like, he'll have money. It doesn't matter then. He can afford the 30 grand probably. He probably can afford the 30 grand right now. The guy's on everybody's lips, right? Come on, let's get Gout on board.
Literally. Yeah, mate, get him in the 4-man position. I'm sure there's a fair whack of turnover that'll be accelerating that sled.
So it's when you show up and you find out you're driving. I mean, what do you have to learn straight away to drive? Like, I mean, it's a simple question. It's not a car. Like, it's not just sort of a case you got a steering wheel, because you've got those strange, what are they like? Cables?
Yeah, little D rings that sit on bungees.
Yeah. So what's that like when you first give that a crack? And is there anything that can kind of prepare you to get used to how you're going to have to steer the sled?
Absolutely not. I remember, I'm not sure if I had a call or if I just kind of went back and forth with a couple of emails with the gentleman who was running that camp. His name's Chris Spring. He's a 4-time Olympian, Canadian, Australian. Phenomenal man and incredible bobsled athlete. He just kind of was like, oh, look, here's a POV of the Whistler track. Just watch that, and I'll talk you through the rest when you get here. Wow. Mate, I'm sitting on a plane, like just got this like screen recorded YouTube video on loop, just being like, okay, so it's a left, it's a right, it's a left, trying to figure it out. And then I get there and he's like, we're walking through the track. I think I turned up like I turned up at like 11 a.m. that morning in Vancouver. I got up to Whistler. I had to like kind of fart ass around so I could get into my accommodation, but that wasn't until like 5 p.m. I needed to be at the track at 5:30. Took all my bags there, just dumped them. And Chris took me on my first ever track walk. And I just remember like there was just this glow because it was so cold. Like the lights were on the ice. It was just like just glowing on the mountain. And we're walking through like down the track, and I've got my phone recording you talking just so I could like loop it back. But I'm walking down and he's like, yeah, so don't do a lot here. And, you just kind of relax. Just don't do anything. And I'm like, what do you mean don't do anything? Like this corner is like 2.5 meters high and you're telling me I'm going to be like up here in the corner. You're telling me just to do nothing. He's like, do nothing.
Wow. And did you do nothing when you got to that corner?
Oh, mate, absolutely. Like the man's a 4-time Olympian. Chris String tells you to do something and my God, you're doing it.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like the first couple of times you're jumping in, like, it's just, you're playing pinball. You're just bouncing around. You're hitting anything that you look at kind of thing. You're not sure where to look, how hard to steer, when to steer. And then it's just that repetition and you just slowly start to get a feel for what it's supposed to feel like and where you're supposed to be. And then that just starts to compound. So you kind of nail one corner and then, okay, you got the exit really nice and okay, you've got the entry nice into the next corner and oh shit, okay, I've hit another wall. And so the next run, oh, look at that. Okay, like we've gone through smooth here. So that's how I do that. And it's one of those sports you just can't, you can do all the visualization, everything in the world, but until you're actually sitting in the sled, negative 15 degrees and going down at 150 Ks an hour in Whistler, that's when you really learn.
That's the learning process right there. I mean, literally thrown into the deep end, essentially. Because the thing that I find fascinating about it is I always bring up when we talk to bobsledders, I'm a Formula One fan, so, you can liken it to an F1 driver, any motorsport really learning a circuit. But obviously with a motorsport racer, if they're, say, learning a circuit, they're going to learn their braking points, their entries, what line and everything, because they're obviously not only are they steering, they're braking. So what can make or break a corner for them is where they brake and how they accelerate out of it. You don't have that. You've literally got to rely on just, I guess, where you turn. And because aren't the ones that's braking, you've got somebody in the back doing that and they're not braking to the end, right? So like how then is it a case of learning that taking a fine line of where you can pick up just the minutest amount of time is going to come down to, well, if I turn a fraction here, or I guess you get a higher or a lower line, like how minute does that have to come down to when you're learning track?
Look, particularly when you're learning, like it's I'd be lying to say bobsledders and pilots weren't perfectionists. You want to be on that green line, that perfect line. Like when you're playing PlayStation and you're playing F1 or whatever, and you put the little line on the track to tell you like this is the green line, and you're going too fast and the line's red going around the corner, or you brake the right time and it goes green, kind of thing. So it's almost like that in bobsled. Like there is the green line, which is the perfect line, which is what you walk the track and what you talk about. And then, you've got every other line that's millimeters to the left or to the right, or is not the perfect line. And you need to know what to do, when to do it, and how fast to do it to get yourself back on that green line. And it's, okay, I know that I'm coming into this corner really late. I need to work really hard here to get myself back to a good position to be able to exit well so that it's not compounding down the track.
And is it a case of, because again, going back to the car racing analogy, you can come into the pits, change your tires, look at a lap, and then go back out again. You've obviously got to lug a damn sled up a damn track, and it's not a simple case of just reversing and going back out again. So do you also only have then a certain amount of time in training where you can do a certain amount of runs, so therefore it adds that extra pressure because you've got to get things on top of it pretty quickly because you're not going to have that same amount of time as you would if you were a car racer?
Yeah, literally. You're talking on average maybe 3 runs a day.
3 a day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And like that's time constraints.
Yeah.
And then you've got some tracks, you might have only 2 or 3 athletes or the sleds kind of going at the same time. So you might have 2 hours and you've got heaps of availability for runs, but then you've also got to take into account your neurological fatigue, the impact that the track's got on the brakeman, because some tracks are a lot more aggressive than others. And there's all these little factors that come into play. It's not just like we can just rep the hell out of this thing and just keep pumping it away. There's so many little things you've got to take into consideration. And, sometimes it sucks, but, you might end up with a really bad run on your last training run for the day. And it's just like, okay, like I've kind of just got to stomach this, and I've got to wait for my next session in 2 days' time where I'll get 3 runs to fix it.
Wow. And there's no such thing as a bobsleigh simulator, is there, where you can learn a track?
No, there's not. I mean, not unless the Germans have got it somewhere in their
Germans
little
have
labs.
got probably 30 secret ones, don't they? That's why they're so damn good, right?
Absolutely, mate. They're doing something different, and good on them.
Why
they got
isn't
the medals
there a
to go with it.
simulator? Serious question though, because we know that in F1, testing's so restricted, but the simulators are so advanced. I feel like a bobsleigh simulator would be a smart investment.
Oh, it absolutely would. And I mean, I think it just comes down to the development of it, really. Again, I'm sure maybe the Koreans or somebody's got one made up somewhere, and it's just kind of like Australia doesn't get to have it.
Well, we should be the opposite. We should be, because we don't have a bloody track, right? What's the nearest one in Korea or China? So for us, we should be front foot, get Big Ant Studios or somebody like that to build one for us. And then, put it at the Jeff Henke Centre. Boom, done. We can get out there. I mean, with what Bree's doing out there, we should have a bit of extra funding going on there. So that should whittle down into everybody else.
Oh, mate, it would be nice, but, unfortunately, sometimes that's not the way that the cookie crumbles. And, we just need to take it the way that it comes. And it would be phenomenal to have a little bit of a simulator or something like that, just to practice a little bit.
Yeah.
But, the visualization aspect's a big thing for a lot of pilots. And, I remember on that camp towards the end of the 4 weeks, I was just there by myself. So I was just encapsulated by bobsled. All I was doing was bobsled. I was in the middle of Whistler. Didn't really know a whole lot of people. I was just committed to sitting there and training. I would just, I'd chill out. I'd watch a movie, and then I'd set up the phone kind of like I've got now, and I'd sit here and I'd literally just I'd be eating a snack or something, and I'd stop eating and I'd just practice all my steers and what I'd be doing. And if I got them all right, I'd give myself a little snack.
Nice. like training a cat or a dog. Here you go. Good.
Quite literally.
Yeah. Wow. That's
literally
fantastic.
would just treat myself to it. It's a weird little thing, and I don't really vocalize it too much, but I went home pretty full.
Well, I'm just saying right now, Channel 9 again, you are welcome for the carrots that you are getting for your in-depth interview with Cam next year. Because I get, got to bring up Cool Runnings. I always bring up Cool Runnings. But all jokes aside about Cool Runnings, there is obviously the scene of Doris sitting there with the turns, and obviously, the scene where they're all in the bath. But while it might not be like that, you still obviously need an element where you can watch it and visualize it, because going back to the point that you're only getting 3 runs a day, you've got to hit those marks pretty perfectly. So you've got to know a track very well by the time you get down it. Yeah,
definitely. It's funny, back then it was, looking at photographs of the corners. At least now, we've got the advancements where, the IBSF puts out POVs of most tracks every year, or, at least puts the old videos back out there for recirculation. So we've got access to those kinds of things. So it's not as if we are going over there blind or just on memory. We can at least do something. And it is, again, we're disadvantaged because we don't have access to the facilities and things like that. And, it's those other little 1%ers that you can do every single day. So, I work on my hand-eye coordination, and I watch a lot of the POVs for the tracks that I'm going to be racing on. And it's almost ingrained in the daily routine as to what I'm doing, just so I can keep my mind fresh on exactly what I need to be doing as soon as I get the opportunity to be there.
Is it also a case of watching a lot of footage from, say, the Germans, the best in the world, to try and see what makes them the best in the world? What lines are they taking, and all those kind of things that you can maybe learn from?
Yeah, I rewatch a lot of races, particularly a lot of the World Cup races that have happened on the North American tracks, and kind of just watching, potentially videos of where I am in the track and where they are, and making those comparisons and understanding, okay, how did they get there and why are they there, and watching how that just compounds down the track as well. So yeah, definitely a lot of comparisons and a lot of old footage, watching old runs of different teams, definitely.
How would you rank, if I'm to tell you right now, rank in order from 1 to 3, Park City, Lake Placid and Whistler? What's from least favourite to most favourite?
Or least favorite to most favorite? Um, that's hard, mate. I mean, I'd probably say if you had have asked me this before the World Championships, I would have said Lake Placid as my least favorite.
Okay.
I'm now probably going to turn around and say Park City's my least favorite.
Okay.
Park City's I like to say it's a nice track. Okay. If you've got a good sled and you're putting yourself in the right position, you kind of just guide the sled down. Lake Placid is a driver's track. There is a lot of driving to do. You're driving from corner 1 all the way to the exit of corner 20. It's so intricate that's where like that complexity of it kind of jumps over Park City for me now. And absolute standout for me is Whistler. It was the first track I ever learned to drive on. It's the fastest track in the world. To me, there's just no conversation. Whistler's number 1.
Okay, that was the easy one of that one. I always generally ask, do you remember the first time in a sled? I'm going to scrap that question today. I'm going to ask, do you remember the first time you crashed? What was the first crash like when you had that?
God, you are testing me now. For a little bit of a fun fact, I went close to 100 times sitting in a sled going down a track, whether that be, so it was at Whistler, my first 100 runs. They've got the different start positions. So you've got halfway down the track, and this way, you can kind of just ease into it. So you're going from corner 7, corner 3, and then up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
I went 100 total times, or close to 100 total times, sitting in a sled before I crashed.
Oh, wow. Good job.
Yeah, so that included all the runs from corner 7, corner 3, and then up to the top. And to be entirely honest, mate, I don't remember my first crash.
Obviously a big one then.
Well, actually, no. I'm absolutely just backtracking here now. So it wasn't at Whistler.
Right.
We did our that first camp. We then did another driving camp. We then went on season. We went to Lake Placid, mm-hmm. and we, unfortunately, due to funding issues and the availability of coaching, we went to a brand new track and one of the most technical tracks in the world without a coach.
Wow.
We decided, we had track notes that were written down, and we thought, okay, we're just going to walk it. We're going to learn it. We'll figure it out. So it was actually from, I think it was like start maybe 3 in Lake Placid. So 2 starts from the top. And I crashed just at like corner 17. So, we're right near the end. There's 20 corners. And I just remember screaming, like I'm not screaming, but like knowing we're about to tip and just going, fuck. And it was kind of, it ended up actually being a bit of a running joke with any of the brakemen that were in the sled. If I'd crashed, and it was like, we know you when we're about to, because you're screaming. Yeah, you're screaming, oh fuck! Like split second before we go weightless. So
don't even become a flight attendant, because instead of going like brace, 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 you're going to be going, oh fuck, we're crashing.
Oh, honestly, I just remember Ben, one of the boys, that she was like, we crashed pretty high up in Whistler that year as well, and we're going down and we finished, and I was like, I'm really sorry, mate, and he's like, oh, no, it's all right. I knew when to tense because I just heard it. I heard you screaming. Yeah, it was very funny.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess you got to do it eventually, right? Like it's like if you're learning to skate, you're going to fall on your butt eventually. Like, you just were a bit luckier than some that you went so long until you did it the first time. Yeah,
literally. And it's kind of like a little bit of not a running joke, but kind of a joke amongst bobsledders. You're not a real bobsledder until you crash and you get back in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wasn't a real bobsledder for a fair amount of time there, but well and truly a bobsledder now.
Your debut on the North American Cup at the end of 2023, your 8th, that is in the 2-man. I went through over your results and I tried to count them up. So of the 20 North American Cups you've competed in, that's combining the 4 and the 2-man, you finished in the top 10 16 times. And of the 6 4-man you've been in, you've always been in the top 10. So that's not bad. That's a good look on the resume. And then your World Championship debut earlier this year at Lake Placid, as you were talking about, 28th in the 2-man. I mean, just looking back and sort of where you started to where you got up to. I'll touch on the World Championships maybe separately, but I mean, sort of have you felt that progression? Have you sort of felt now that you're almost a staple on this North American circuit that's really helping you going into what will be the next season qualifying for the Olympics?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's really, really good to hear like somebody else kind of bringing those stats to me. My dad always gets really hard on me because I'm super hard on myself. Always, the podium's the big goal all the time. And
You're on off the podium right now. That's why we celebrate these achievements, Cam.
exactly, that's why we're here. But yeah, your dad's always on me about how good my results have been. And it wasn't until I kind of finished up this season and looked back, had a bit of reflection on the results and watching my, not even the result itself, but just my downtimes, just kind of year by year, just seconds shaving off, is really, really good to see. Obviously, for my driving ability, unfortunately, again, we haven't had the push to kind of echo the driving at the moment. So there's been a lot of development in the last, particularly coming up to this season, to improve our push times. So if we can kind of bring the push times to be within a tenth, of some of those top 5 teams, we're kind of knocking on the door of like that top 6 position. And so as long as I can execute my driving and continue to improve like I have over the last 2 seasons that I've done, then there's no reason why we can't be asking the question of potentially getting on that wider podium or potentially that top 3 in the North America Cup circuit.
What was that experience like going to your first World Championships and going on that level compared to a North American Cup?
Mate, it was really surreal. So like when Hayden first started talking to me about bobsled, it was like, okay, like I'll see what this is about. And I, for probably about 2 seasons, watched every single World Cup race. And this was a year, 2 years before I started, like before I actually went and tried it. So to then fast forward, a couple more years later down the track, and I'm competing at World Championships with some of these guys that I've been watching for years competing in this sport, and I've just idolized. It was like full starstruck moment. I was just like standing there, like looking at some of these guys, being like, "Shit, you are bigger than what you are on on YouTube, like on YouTube Live. Like, holy hell, like you really are like 6'5". Yeah, just like seeing the way that they operate, how they respect their equipment, how they respect each other as athletes, how they hold themselves around the track. It was quite eye-opening for sure.
I'm looking at sort of who you beat at the World Championships. You beat an Austrian pair. Now, if I'm thinking of, decent bobsled nations, Austria is, up there, I would assume. I mean, it's near Germany, right? So that's good enough. A Thai pair. And most importantly, I mean, they might not have started, but you still registered above a pair of Brits. So, I mean, that to me is a win in itself. I mean, do you have like rivals? Like, do you sort of, I mean, whether you vocalize them or not, like, oh, I was going to beat them. Like, they're like, I hate them. Hate those bastards. I want to beat them every single bloody time.
Look, I mean, like the sport's super competitive, mate. And when we're on the North America Cup circuit, as much as we're all out there to win and beat each other, like, that's probably the best part about the North American Cup circuit is everybody is there to see each other succeed. And it's a beautiful part of the sport is everybody just wants to help each other and get you to that next stage. And to turn up to World Champs was one thing. To compete was phenomenal. I had goals myself that, unfortunately I didn't hit. I'd driven the track a lot better and a lot faster in the North America Cup races. So I was really kicking myself when I turned up to World Champs on the world stage right at the end of the season and didn't execute what I wanted to. But in saying that, taking that experience and being able to embody that and live through it, it was phenomenal. And, like you said, there's some guys behind me there, very, very good pilots that unfortunately crashed. And, one of my first ever medals in bobsled was in the North American Cup circuit in my first year, and we came 5th in the 2-man. So wider podium, but the reason that kind of occurred was I just stayed consistent and I nailed my runs. The first heat, I think out of the 13 sleds, like 8 of them crashed.
Wow.
And you're talking like, the ice was wicked fast. you're talking Canadians this is their home track, the US, like some really, really good pilots, and they crashed. And it was just the fact that I'd stayed consistent. And, after the first heat, I was coming second. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And then obviously they went down the second run and absolutely blitzed it and still jumped over me. But it's still the fact of being consistent and nailing your lines. And, you may not be the best pusher or the fastest equipment, but you nail your runs and you kind of wait for those opportunities and hopefully execute.
You know what I love hearing by you saying that is that 23 years after Stephen Bradbury won gold, Australian Winter Olympians still have that mentality of like, I'm just going to hold back and let shit around me happen, and who the fuck knows what can happen. And case in point, why the podium? Who knows what's going to happen between now and the Olympics, right?
Mate, it's the worst feeling when you're standing there on the top of the ice and the bloke that went before you crashes and they go, hold on the track, and you're just like, shit.
Because that's that awkward moment. You're good, like going, oh shit, I hope they're okay, but fuck, I just moved up a spot, yay!
But like, not even that. You're standing there like so zoned, and you're like, fuck, I'm ready to like rip the case off this thing. I'm gonna nail this run, and they're like, hold on track. You're like, God damn it! You go inside and reset, and you're standing there and you're staying warm, and then they're like, all right, you got a minute until you go, and then all right, set yourself again. So particularly on that race, there was like 5 or 6 that had crashed before me, and I was like, for the love of God, you're not doing what they have done. All of them crashed in the same spot, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I'm getting down. And I did, and I was just so like chuffed at the end of it.
Do you feel that pressure going into that corner? Do you kind of have in the back of your mind, oh, fuck, this is where it happened? Or is it just so quick you just put it out of your mind?
Oh, it's one of those things. If you think about it, you kind of manifest and bring into reality, right? So it's just like, for me, it's kind of like this is just another run. It's just another run on your favorite track in the world, and you've done this 100 times. There's no reason why you can't nail it right now.
Yeah, keep on pushing through there. So we're recording this beginning of August. You mentioning to me off air, you're on a plane in about 6 or so weeks off to start the season or get prepared for the season at least. But what's the process, Cam? What is it going to take for you to get on that plane, punch that ticket to the Olympics next year in Italy?
Look, we've crunched a couple of numbers, and on average from the last 2 Olympic Games, on average you're looking at about 1,100 to 1,200 points that will need to be accumulated across both disciplines. What that looks like is an average of 8.5 or better every single race.
So basically finishing 8.5, essentially.
Yeah, about 8. Yeah.
And just to clarify, so this is purely NORAM? Are we going to any World Cups as well, or is it just purely the NORAMs?
No, just going to stick in the North America. And again, it kind of comes down to it's Olympic year. We haven't driven on any other tracks. Mm-hmm. Just to get to Europe or World Cup is cost an arm and a leg. I have no equipment over there either, so it's we're going to stick to what we know, which is the North American tracks. Hopefully, nail them and be happy with our results, and be able to hopefully punch that ticket and get on that plane and go to Milan.
And is there a Oceania spot, like a quota, like sort of where does Australia fit in terms of just qualifying the sled, not necessarily obviously the selection process of who's driving it, but like where do we fit in into that scheme of things?
Yeah, so notoriously there was that continental spot. Mm-hmm. And we were quite fortunate in a couple of years, despite having phenomenal teams, it's still qualifying through that continental spot. But they've actually scrapped that now. So we do have to rank in that top kind of 28 sleds to qualify.
So why did they scrap that? Is that just a case of...
To be fair, Ben, I don't know. I didn't look too deep into it. It was kind of one of those things. It's like the more you kind of dig and dwell on it, it's like, well, it's not actually going to benefit me whether or not I know the reasoning. So for me, it was kind of just like, well, don't care. My goal was always to kind of be around that 20th in the world kind of situation. So that's always been a significant goal of mine. So it was like, well, whatever.
Well, I'm just saying 28th at the World Championships. If you've got to get in the top 28, you're there, right? Like, not a worry.
Look, I wish it worked like that. Like the qualification process is a little bit more convoluted, and there's certain 2 nations can have 3 sleds. So you've got your Germany and your Swiss, and Then there's the Seven Nation that can have 2 sleds. So we're currently trying to be in that Seven Nation 2 sled situation. And then there's your 8 nations that can have one sled or one team racing. So if it was based on last year's results, I would have actually qualified a position for Australia. But obviously that's not the way that it works, and we don't have to. We get to do that all over again and hopefully do better and have better results and really pull a good quota spot.
What would it mean to you, Cam, to get that spot, to get that ticket and become an Olympian?
I got kind of shivers thinking about it. It's a growing up. It's always that dream. It's like that's the epitome of an athlete, is going to the Olympic Games and competing at the Games, winning a gold medal. Where that was a dream, it's now a goal. And if anything, in my eyes, it's an attainable goal. And it's me who's limiting whether or not I get there. And it kind of just reassures all of the sacrifices that have been made and the time and the effort that's put in there. But to be fair, I wouldn't change a single thing in the last kind of 3 years or 2.5 kind of that I've been doing bobsled. The stuff I've done is incredible on reflection, literally only competing in 2 seasons and qualifying for a world championships and getting to compete in a world championships, let alone travel all of North America and just sit in a bobsled. There ain't many people that can say that they've done that. So it's very cliche, but it would literally mean the world to me to be able to pull on an Australian race suit and race for Australia in bobsled.
But you never imagined when you were staring down that big guy about to have your eye socket smashed that you could be going to an Olympic Games in 5 years later, right?
Oh, shit, no. I was thinking I was running through him and going for another try. We were winning 30-0 at that stage or something. I thought, come here. I was like, you're all mine.
You're mine. Bring it on with that.
Next minute, my guts are just hanging out. I'm so unwell.
One thing that I love and sort of in the research for this chat is your hype reel that you've got on your Instagram. Dream on, Aerosmith, I'm Cam Smith, I'm a bobsledder. It's just, I love those sort of things. And on top of that too, things like fundraising pages and everything along those lines. So is it a case of, are you going out there singing? Some people say, you don't believe Australia has a bobsled team to earn the money. I mean, kind of like putting it out there. Is there going to be merch? What sort of things are you doing sort of to help raise the funds with the hype reel and everything else that you've got going on out there?
Well, mate, I absolutely suck at singing. So
did the Jamaican bobsled team, and they made $1.52, wasn't it? So there you go.
Oh, $1.52 more than me at the minute. So
and that was 1988 money. That's probably $10 now. Come on.
Exactly, inflation, right?
Yeah.
Look, we've got all of the athletes in the teams have got their Australian Sports Foundation page, and that's an incredible incentive. Being able to reach out to people in our local circles and being like, hey, you can actually make a tax deductible donation, and that's been a big one. I work at St George Hospital, so they've been super supportive in allowing me to do some sausage sizzles and selling raffle tickets for raffles and stuff like that I've had going, and I've done one trivia night, and I'm about to actually have my second trivia night, which is going to be a heap of fun. And
right.
we get 100, 150 plus people come down and attend, and
wow,
we get some previous Olympians that'll come down. So we had Glenn Turner, who was at the 88 Games, was one of the pilots for Australia, and hopefully this year we'll get Hayden Smith come down as well, and
fantastic,
a couple of Q&A, some really cool stuff happen there, and I've got some Bob Team Scott t-shirts. I haven't actively really tried to sell them. I've more just paid for them and started to give them out to people.
You send me a link. I'll buy one off you, because I did this in the lead up to Paris. Basically, every one of our guests that was selling some level of merch, I had to buy one, and I've been putting that out to our winter guests. I'm like, come on, the Paris athletes went gaga with their merch. I bought everyone. So you send me a link. I'll gladly buy one, because I always love the merch. I love the you're calling yourself Cam the bobsleigh man. This should be a bloody that sells itself. Come on.
Oh, it definitely does. Mate, I remember when the first person that said that to me, and I was just like, oh shit, that's going to stick, isn't it?
Channel 9, you're welcome.
Get onto it.
Yeah, bobsled Brie, right? That name is stuck so much that literally people who work for our show, whenever we get her on, they're like, is her name actually now bobsled Brie? So, like, they can literally have that stuck to you. Can the bobsleigh man? Simple.
Yeah, 100%. And like, we've got our Instagram page as well for the team, and we're trying to really just kind of get a little bit of hype around it and get that awareness out there for all of our circles, and just start to try and hopefully dwindle out to greater Australia and just get a little bit more of awareness of what we're actually doing, and that struggle, the classic kind of grind to get to an Olympics and stuff like that. But it's been super exciting, and it's something that I've never thought that I'd ever navigate in my life, but it's been a super fun way in an odd way to kind of think about it. Like it's incredibly difficult, but again, I wouldn't change anything for it. And that support network that I've got around me is just kind of absolutely driving me to make sure I get there too. So it's been awesome.
Do you have a name for your sled at all?
So I bought my 2-man sled off Germany. It's a German sled.
Okay.
So it's black, yellow, and red. So it had DHL plastered on the side in red because DHL sponsors Germany.
Yep.
And until I pulled it off, it looked like a Vegemite tin. So we were calling it the Vegemite.
Hey, that's very Australian. I like that.
Absolutely it was. And, plugging out the Vegemite there if they're still interested.
Hey.
Get them on there.
Well, that's perfect sponsorship. If you've got this, black, yellow, and red sled, and Vegemite should be jumping on board with that, right? Like you do the happy little Vegemite jingle. They could be singing it up there, why not?
Yeah, minus, all the yeast, and we're good.
Yeah, a bit of yeast down there. Do you have, has the 4-man got a name or?
Yeah, it does. So initially I forget what it was called initially, but I bought it. I completely forget who I bought it from, unfortunately. But I've now renamed it as Black Betty.
Black Betty. Oh, there you go. You get Spiderbait on board. Spiderbait can then possibly do like some people say, don't believe Australia has a bobsled team, but like in the, oh, Australia, blam, blam, oh, like something like that. Like, come on.
Mate, that's phenomenal. Please, absolutely. Write that song for them.
Please, come on, Spiderbait. I don't know the last time Spiderbait released a song. So
yeah, I'd be surprised if they're still kicking around, mate. But
yeah, they'd be due for a comeback, I think. So I always bring that up because we like to on this show, if there are no names, we put names out there. Bree's called a sled Ben, so I could say that I finished 5th at the Olympics in Beijing, and we had Gray Morris, windsurfer, win a silver medal at the Olympics last year in Paris on a boat called Cherry, named after our mascot. So, just saying.
Mate, I'm still open to it, to be fair.
Hey, look, well, Cherry's always open. Cherry's a silver medalist in sailing. So when it comes to that, he's on a shelf behind me. I can't really get him down, but I can show you on my mug. If you can actually see, that's Cherry there. That's our mascot.
That's fantastic.
He could be all right in bobsled. You could use him as a sled, probably. So
yeah, you probably could. I don't know effectiveness, but funny enough, when we were in Lake Placid, there's a guy who would go down on a shovel. On a shovel. Yeah, in Latvia, they've got shovel races.
Now either you're struggling for funding or there's a reason behind that.
Mate, this guy's he's blasted in GoPro sponsorship and all this shit, and he's got a GoPro on the handle, and he's got one on his head, on his chest, and he's literally flogging it down on a shovel.
Wow. Okay.
And we were like, what the heck?
Yeah, well, chair's fine then. If you can do a shovel, chair.
Oh, you're fine.
Straight down there. Wow. Well, we're gonna we had pins made up for Paris. And we will get ones made up for Milan, obviously with cherry on it. And we're trying to see if we can get little cherry plushies. The one behind me was very expensive to get one made in that size. So, and I would never expect anyone to pay for one of those. But we're going to get something. We'll get something to you as a good luck charm that can go along the way with that as well. We're going to get to our questions to wrap it up in just a moment. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. We've mentioned sort of the loose history of some of Australia at the Olympics when it comes to bobsleigh. I actually found it very interesting. You mentioned 1988. We made our debut in bobsleigh in 1988, the same year as Jamaica, just to point that out. And just putting it out there, they made a movie on Cool Runnings on the Jamaica bobsleigh team. Australia beat Jamaica at those Olympics. So can we just be celebrated that, it's all well and good to have Cool Runnings, they were going to win the medal, they found whatever. I know it's fictional, but we beat them. Can we celebrate that more, Cam?
I'm trying, mate. But funny you say that because Glenn, who went to those games, he was telling us that there was a lot of interest from TV crews and stuff about them being at the games, being Australia, being from the land down under.
Yeah.
And there was very slight conversations of potentially a movie being made.
Oh, wow.
And then it was like, oh shit, hang on a minute, the Jamaicans are coming.
So they stole our thunder.
Absolutely. Screw them.
Get off. Screw exactly. Fuck Jamaica.
I mean, very lovely people, but yeah, screw them.
Yeah. We were talking last week to David about having a sequel to Cool Runnings. Well, there's a sequel. It's Australia. So
Bada bing, bada boom. There it is. Sign me up.
The real story is right there. 20th is our best finish ever in the four-man, 1994 and 2014. So years ending in 4 are pretty good. So come 2034 when you're in Salt Lake, you know, I mean, we'll be better. You'll be a gold medalist by then, so let's be honest. Going on board that with that. But the question I've been putting out there, because I gave this to to Bree, to Ash, to Sarah, when I was sort of mentioning they've got the monobob, they've got the 2-woman. I'm like, why isn't there a 4-woman? So now I'm also asking the men, we've got the 4-man, we've got the 2-man, where's the monobob for men? So I'm just thinking in the world of equality and the Winter Olympics, we've got that beauty where it's not the Summer Olympics where they have to cut events to bring in more medals. We've got plenty of space for more medal events at the Winter Olympics. So can we have by 2030, 2034, a monobob for men and a 4-woman for women?
I would love if there was a monobob. It's such a, I don't know, it just adds a different dynamic to it all. It's kind of like, the margin for error for a 4-man is like nothing. Like you have to be like on the pin perfect. Otherwise you're going to crash every time. I'd just love to just flog it down in a monobob and not have the responsibility of 3 other guys in case
have some guy's head up your butt for once.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting toes in places toes shouldn't be and spikes in the back of my back. And, I just maybe just a bit of peace in a single sled. But, yeah, they did try and bring in a 4-woman event.
Okay.
You've got your big countries like Canada, US that can fund it and field it. Then you've got, use Australia for example. We've got at least a decent athlete pool now for the women. So we would be able to throw a 4-man team together, a 4-woman team together now. Previous years, previous Olympics, we've got maybe 2 or 3 athletes for the women. So it just ends up being a numbers game, really, and how many teams would actually be able to do it.
I kind of almost maybe liken it to we're about to see in luge the doubles in women finally, aren't we? And I discovered that actually is quite new, that actually hasn't been around for a while. So maybe it is a case of, as you're saying, it grows a little bit more. We can see that. I mean, obviously, I'm assuming the monobob's pretty easy. You've got enough men, you can just shove a single one of them in the thing. It's just we need to find more women to get in the 4-woman, right? So,
Yeah.
The Germans should be jumping. It's another extra golds for them. They're going to win them all the fucking time, right? Like, come on. Like, we want to win the more gold. Like, come on. Like, that's what they want, right? That was a bad German accent, wasn't it?
That was terrible, but that's okay.
That was like Count Dracula. That was like our old Thomas Bach impersonation. 1, 2, like the Count from Sesame Street. Never do that again, Ben. One random question I want to ask you before I get to the 10. I really want to put you on the spot here, Cam, and this is not going to affect your dream for next year, but right now I am the genie. I am Will Smith. I am Robin Williams from Aladdin. I can grant you any wish. If I was to say to you right now, you have the option of standing on the top of that podium in Milan next year as a gold medalist for Australia, or you get the ball in the NRL Grand Final for St. George in Golden Point and you kick it through the post and you win a premiership for St. George after the sign. Like, what are you taking? What's the 2 better of those there, right there?
Oh, mate, gold medal every day.
Gold medal
every day. Yeah. There was a slight doubt in my head there, thinking like bigger picture, like rugby league, money. Gold medals. Gold medals.
You're on a stamp.
You know what I mean?
You're on a stamp if you win that. You're not getting a stamp if you win the premiership for St. George.
No, God, no, you're not. God, no. Gold medal every day, mate. I probably wouldn't take it off and the ribbon would rot to my body. But
I have always said that if I had remotely had any skill and I won any form of medal, mate, if I had just qualified for the Olympics, I would, never have taken anything off. So that's
that's the current plan, mate. So
yes, I'm sure that's going to be your girlfriend's going to be like, God, it's been 3 years. Take off the uniform, Cam. We get it. You're an Olympian. You'll be at work, having a patient. You're like, oh, funny you mentioned this, Australian Olympic uniform. Want to know what I did this winter? Can we wrap up every interview with a set of get to know you questions? Our 10 now that we're standardized. If you've listened to any of our more recent chats, you would have heard these. And as always, there's one that I use ChatGPT for a bit of fun with, which I'll get to. But I'll start off with the first one. What is the one thing you never leave home without when traveling to a competition? And you're not allowed to say a bobsled because that's an obvious one.
Dang it. Well,
say that one again. I think it didn't even come through on the audio there. It was that good of an answer.
Caffeine.
Caffeine. There we go.
Caffeine.
Too much caffeine. The microphone didn't pick it up, apparently. Caffeine's a good one. Are you like just coffee, energy drink? Like kind of where are you getting the caffeine from?
Mate, last season I actually transitioned across to caffeine tablets.
Oh, okay.
So I'd be washing down probably 2 or 3 tablets with an energy drink. So it's a lot for the your sympathetic nervous system.
You're pinging, basically.
Oh, mate, yeah, wired, absolutely wired.
You're going there, but I guess going back to what you're saying about you're getting yourself so pent up, right, that you're kind of ready to go. That I guess it's building it up, right? You're getting energized and momentum and everything building on the start line.
Yeah, no, 100%. And there's always caffeine in the bag. If it's not, it's kind of like, oh shit, we need to be finding some.
Quick duck to the local cafe or something like that. And
literally, give us a quadruple shot latte.
Pile it up. What's a traditional superstition you follow before every big competition?
Oh, geez. I used to be that person that would literally put on their shoes in a particular way or do their shoelaces up in doing things very superstitiously across the time. It's now kind of become a little bit of like a mental kind of conversation with myself. I'll do all my warm up and everything, and then I kind of find like a little corner with a little bit of a view sometimes at the track and kind of do my final mind run and then kind of settle myself. And it was more or less just kind of this year as a kind of a quote from Matthew McConaughey, who did a podcast and was talking about, if you're going to do it, just do it. When it's time to go, just dive. It's 110%. You're going into it. And, when you finish it, you find out. Yeah. You either did the work that you wanted to do or you found out that you didn't. It's like that kind of like looking in the mirror and having that realization of, I didn't half-ass it and I got exactly what I wanted, or I didn't half-ass it and, hey, I actually found out that I'm lacking in X, Y, and Z. So it's more or less just like kind of running over that dialogue of him kind of saying it. Sometimes I'll actually get it up, that podcast, and listen to it, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, it's time to dive.
And then at the end, you just simply cross the finish line and go, all right. You did it right. Like, that's what you want to do at the end, right?
Oh, shit. I wish I had that swagger to pull that off, mate, but I don't.
Get more caffeine into you, I think. That's
absolutely
probably what you need to do it there. What's a song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what? It
is Touch the Sky by Lupe Fiasco.
Oh, yeah. I know that song.
Yeah.
Good song.
It was just, I don't know. I remember listening to it when it first came out, kind of, and like when I first started listening to rap music, at least, and it just clicked, and it's always been on one of my playlists.
Good song. I like it. Any Black Betty to go with the Black Betty sled at all, or?
Oh yeah, look, it's definitely sprinkled in there. If I'm doing 4-man, then of course, it's in the warm up playlist at least.
And they're probably Spider-Bait again. Nothing. They're not doing anything at the moment, as far as I know. They'll probably be on the line in Italy. I'm like, Black Betty, singing along, pissing off the Germans. What is this? This isn't how we do it.
It's not about.
Yeah, exactly. What is the most unexpected or funny DM that you have ever gotten?
Oh, I couldn't even think of one off the top of my head. The amount of stupid DMs I get off my mates these days is just beyond me. Like, I don't know. I'll do something to me squatting or something. They'll just be like, great cheeks. Like something like that. And I'm just like, okay, disregard the fact that there's 150 kilos on the bar. Like, thanks, man.
Wow.
Love it.
I this is one of those ones I think you track going to the Olympics and then afterwards, because I can imagine that you compete, you go off, and you look at your phone. There's just going to be the amount that you'll get all of a sudden. I always want to say, you got to let us know if you get like the sugar mummies or sugar daddies, or like the people wanting feet pics, or things that often we find out people message other people on this show, because there are some sick fuckers out there, Cam.
Oh, mate, look, that I do know, but again, I don't think I'm on that attractive list of I want to see your feet.
You need to get the other eye knocked out, maybe, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden
that's it.
they'll go that.
They'll fix me up.
They'll fix you up. The weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Oh, well, not eaten, but I'm going to go with drink. Have you ever had a Caesar?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Oh, they're terrible.
Oh, the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life.
I love Canada, but I don't know what the fuck they're doing drinking those things.
Oh, and like everyone raves about it. It's like, hair of the dog, have a Caesar. And it's like, I think I would rather shit in my hands and clap. I hate them. They're so bad.
Might be the best ever comeback I've ever heard to something you don't want to eat. That's a good one. Yeah, I look from a country that produces my favorite food in the world, poutine. The fact that they do fucking Caesars, like I'm just like, guys, yeah, the shit in my hands and clap. Oh, I like that. I'm stealing that.
You're welcome.
Speaking of better food, your ultimate guilty pleasure meal after a big competition.
Oh, I'm a sucker for like a big greasy burger.
Oh yes.
Yeah, like a triple patty, triple cheese, the works on there.
Yep.
Oh, absolute. Like I'll do anything for it.
Do you have a go-to burger place, be it a chain or a local place you like going to?
Local one here, like to home, is called Archie's.
Okay.
Yeah, just like, to be fair, it's not actually that greasy. It's just decent quality food. But when I'm over in Canada, in Whistler, it's a place called, I think it's Splits.
Okay.
Splits Burgers. And yeah, they're just, absolutely love the place. Like I just walk in there just hyper salivating, like just put it in my body, please.
Just shut up and take my money, the KFC one. You're just
quite literally.
Feel me.
Here's my wallet.
You over when you're in Canada, I've got to ask from an Australian perspective, do you get into the hockey? Have you gotten a hockey team while you've been over in Canada at all?
Nah, mate, not really. To be fair, like other than watching bobsled, I don't actually watch a lot of sport. Other than the occasional Dragons game when we're not getting flogged.
I always get that from my dad. Like, oh yeah, we lost again. I'm like, Sharks are 7th. We'll be out in the first round of the finals. Don't worry, that's how it generally works. Mate, we're Carlton supporters in the AFL, so we just hang on to anything right now. So
Yeah, that's right. Any hope?
Yeah, any hope with anything. If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, what event would you choose, and how do you think you'd fare?
Oh, geez. I'd like to think like, I don't know, like wrestling.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I'd size up very well, and I think I'd get my ass handed to me, but I don't know.
Give it
a good crack.
We'll connect you with Jaden Lawrence, our Aussie Olympian from Paris, and see if I can get you a one-on-one or something like that. Maybe he can get in a bobsled and you can get in a wrestling match with him, you know?
Yeah, we'll go 1-for-1. I'll probably I'll do the bobsled first, so that it's a bit rattled, and then I'll take him.
Smart thinking, strategic.
Yeah,
I like
on the
that.
ice, sorted.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Now this is the one we get a bit of help with ChatGPT. If your Olympic journey were a movie, Cam, what would the title be, and who would play you?
Oh, geez.
Have you ever been likened to an actor before? Has anybody ever sort of said like, "Oh, you resemble that guy"?
Not an actor, but people think I look like Cam McInnes from the Sharks.
Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Yep. All right.
Oh, yeah. The guy that looks like he's been bashed with the ugly stick about 4,000 times. Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
You're welcome. It's the eye, as I said, this other eye. But I can see it. Like, I can literally see it. That's weird. It's done in the most respectful manner. I mean, we have Sergei Evglevsky, a shooter. He randomly brings up, when I ask that question, he's like, oh, yeah, I got likened to this little girl from A Quiet Place. And you're sort of like, what? How do you? And you see a photo of this actress and you're like, fuck, I see it. Like, it's the most weird resemblance that you're like, okay, so, but you say that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see it. So, yep.
Yeah, right. Yeah, look, to be fair, mate, I don't really know who could play me. Who do you reckon we should on board?
Well, ChatGPT has given me some examples here, but I'll get the titles first. So there's some ideas here. They've gone with Icy Resolve, Push to the Limit, The Run. That one's, right. Full Send, The Cameron Scott Story. That's not bad. Cold Rush, Against the Grain, From Tracks to Ice. I don't know what sport they thought you did beforehand. Chasing Cortina. That one didn't come up with, much thought. I like this one. Head Down, Head First, and Breaking the Ice. So I just think you go with Cam the Bobsleigh Man. That's just your movie title, right?
I've got the runs.
Yep. I've got the run. A true story of a man chasing his own shit.
Oh.
The actor
And clapping.
and clapping. What was that? The sound of one hand clapping. That move, like that's with shit in it. That's a different one. The actors they've gone with here. They've gone with Luke Bracey. Not bad. Liam Hemsworth. They always pull up a Hemsworth. They just go with Australia, right? But they take it. I don't know who this is. Alexander England. I don't know who that is.
No clue.
But yeah. Callum Mulvey. Yeah. I can kind of see it. Ben O'Toole, Travis Fimmel, Jake Ryan. Some of these I've never heard of them. Brendan Thwaites, Todd Lasant. Actually, Todd Lasant, in a weird way, I can sort of see it. Like, somewhat. And Dan Ewing. Okay, I see where they're going with those. Sort of the home and away style.
I might have to go with the handsome fella of the Hemsworth brother, at least.
Yeah, Liam. Go with the that Hemsworth. I'll show you. I've got a mock-up poster here where basically I went with Cam the bobsleigh man because I'm just that guy. And again, for people listening to this right now, go to our video interview on YouTube and you'll see this. This is what they've drawn up for Cam the bobsleigh man.
It couldn't be more simple.
Pushing for a dream against all odds. There it is.
I love how small ChatGPT makes these sleds, hey?
Yeah, I know. Right?
It's like a little trolley
Actually,
car.
I just noticed that. That is, you're not even getting a leg in that thing. What the fuck is that?
No, these cheeks ain't fitting in that.
There's your mate sending you the cheeks messages.
Oh, there it is.
Not fitting into that damn thing. Wow. There you go. All right, thanks, ChatGPT. What is the one question you're tired of being asked and what is the one you wish people would ask you instead?
The classic of like, do you get paid to do bobsled?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the question I wish they ask is, can I pay you to do bobsled?
Shut up and take my money.
Please.
There it is. I like that. I like that. How often do the cool runnings questions get asked?
Oh, look, I'd probably say at least 50% of the time. Again, you get those people that are just like so head over heels, like, this is incredible. I had no idea Australia does this. And then like they're the naive ones, like, oh, like, what's that movie that's about bobsled? And I'm like, yeah, Cam the bobsled man.
Yeah.
But then you got the other people that are just like, Sunker, cool runnings.
Sunker. Like, I actually saw one of your posts. You wrote something about Sunker in it, so I saw that.
I definitely did. But you kind of have to play on it, particularly being from where we are. So
yeah. The thing that scares me though is that we are getting to an age where people have never even heard of it or seen it because it is now a 30-year-old movie. And the fact is you were born after it, so I feel old knowing that I grew up on that movie. But and it's also funny when you talk to some people, go, that classic old movie about bobsled, what's that called? And I'm like, shut up.
Other than pretty much the only movie about bobsled.
Yeah, exactly. But until Cool Runnings 2 about Australia that it should have been made on. So
yes, exactly.
Simple. The deep one that we always end on. I love ending on this question now, Cam. What's the one lesson you've learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
I guess it's that humility. Really just understanding the fundamentals of what's occurred and why it's occurred, and being able to accept that it's a lesson. And you can build on whatever you have learnt, you can shape that into whatever that may be. You have the chance to dictate what you do next.
Mm-hmm.
And it's you're not defined by that exact moment in your life and that result. For example, it's what you do within, kind of, for me at least, that next 24 hours. It shows that kind of person you actually are.
Matthew McConaughey really must have a good podcast because there's some good words. I'm just saying right now. There's some good words to go by on that one. Cam, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. If people want to follow the journey, social media, where can people follow you, donate money, plug everything you want to plug here?
Yeah, so I've got my personal account, Cameron Scott 333. We've got our Bob Team Scott Instagram account as well, which is our team account. And then we have all of our individual athletes of the team have an Australian Sports Foundation page. So any donations, you can go to the Australian Sports Foundation page, type in bobsleigh and filter through everybody and find me. and click on me
and donate to you.
Donate to me.
I did discover that you also have a TikTok page, but there's only one video on it, Cam. So is there going to be some more added to that one?
Look, I mean, it's one of those things. People are like, "Oh, you have to get on TikTok," and I'm that classic like Instagram Reels guy.
Yeah,
I'm like,
me too.
I'm a month late to the party kind of thing, and
yeah,
I've never picked up on TikTok, and I don't know. I definitely need to if I really want to crack into it. Apparently, but I don't know. I don't have the time.
The thing I find funny with we will share our I'm saying I concentrate on putting our stuff on Instagram, but we'll share it to TikTok, and then one video will get like 20 views. The next one will get like 2,000, and then all of a sudden something's happened somewhere in the world, and then there's comments going on it about something. Like I talked to you about ray gun off air. Well, I had to stop the comments on the ray gun videos from like a year and a half ago before she was even an Olympian, because just everything. I'm like, okay, no, we're turning comments off this video. Everyone's finding all this shit on her now. I'm like, no, we're not having those comments. But yeah, I don't get TikTok, so Yeah, just another time consuming thing. Yeah, exactly. Got to try and get there first. So well, when you're there, Cam. When yes. You're there, we will be cheering you on, whether we're on the ground or we're on the other side of the world, and everybody's going to be supporting you out there, mate. We very much enjoyed this chat and very much appreciate your time, and we'll get you back on after the Olympics, whether you're there, not whether you're there, when you're there, and we'll celebrate all the achievements and hear about all the journey that you're going to have in Italy next year.
I love your work, Ben. I really, really appreciate your time, mate. It's been an honour.